At the Top has barely even been released, and already it's grown its own fanbase from the ground up, boosting both Nightning and Javp's reputation massively. Of course, this is not without reason. At the Top is a superb level in every aspect, and the number of sends it's garnered alone should tell you that. All this coming from a pair of creators with little notoriety in the creating community, rising up seemingly to the summit of their creating abilities within the space of a few months. It's clear that this is something special. I want to first talk about the experience of actually playing the level. Going into this, I was not expecting it to be anywhere near as fun as it is. In recordings, the level looks like a hard or insane demon, what with the speed and somewhat complex gameplay. But while practicing it, I found it was a lot easier. Not only this, but it's also incredibly fun. The parts that look like they should give you trouble are really well thought out, making them much easier to pass than you might expect. And as a whole, the gameplay has a really nice flow to it, every part having a lot of thought put into the way the player moves around the screen. Some of you will know that I'm generally not a fan of 4x speed, because it instantly makes your gameplay 10 times worse to struggle through in practice mode, due to its inherent on-site readability. But learning the gameplay here is made easy, because of the surprising clarity of the gameplay and the fairly low number of inputs. Nevertheless, the level always feels active and lively, retaining its unique gameplay without ever feeling like it's an unsolvable puzzle. You wouldn't expect gameplay this solid when the screen is also being filled with effects, and the fact that Javp and Nightning pulled it off is incredible on what seems to be a fairly early attempt at creating from them both. Speaking of the decoration, the effects are also incredible in their own right. In every part, the player is always engaged, be it by the colours, the gameplay, or the unique style of effects. You can also find something original in every part, completely contrary to what you might expect from hearing of a level like this. It's depressing, but effect levels today rarely innovate, preferring to squash in as many effects as possible in order to make people think there's a lot more going on than there actually is. That doesn't make them bad levels, it just means they pale in comparison when something like At the Top comes out. As I said, you barely have to look to find an innovative effect in every single part of this level. And some of them are so original I can barely even figure out how they were done. The amount of effort put into each part also shines through in the effects, and everything ties together to create a surprisingly cohesive level that is no doubt one of the best effect levels of the year. Another thing I like about At the Top is that it doesn't outstay its welcome. The level is just over a minute long, and while some people might complain that it feels too short, personally I think it works incredibly well for what the level is going for. In my opinion, the level is just like a quick burst of energy, starting just before the drop and ending just after it. The midsection is all a rush of bright colours and dynamic effects, and the ending is just stressful enough to create a feeling of a journey, which works incredibly well with the song. Ending the level quote unquote early was also probably the best decision for the creative process, and I want to talk about how impressive this level is purely from the mental struggle that went behind it. You can find the full story in Nightning's description, but in short, both parties undertook a lot of stress to get this level finished. The most incredible part for me is the effects Javp managed to conceive in the few days before they would no longer have had access to their computer. The fact that effects as original as these, beyond anything Javp has really made before, were made in such a short time span makes them even more impressive. That's not to discredit the role that Nightning took in this project though. It's clear that they too poured their soul into this level because they knew they could make something incredible. And in my eyes, they achieved exactly what they wanted. If you go back and look at the old previews, you can tell they had some amazing ideas, and they both work fantastically well together to polish and build upon each other's potential. The story behind this level only works to make the level feel so much more impressive than it already is, and I'm hoping to see this pair work together in the future to create something equally, if not more impressive, although hopefully with better timing. All this ties together to create a product to which I can't really bring any meaningful criticism. Sure, you could always point out things like the song not being very original and the N-wave not being that well synced, but the only criticism I feel 100% certain I can bring against it is that the second part of the drop feels underwhelming in comparison to the first. Even that is negligible, because the effects are so impressive and the gameplay so involving that it feels pointless to even bring up. As a result, this is probably going to be one of my shortest episodes yet, because I think I've adequately displayed how much I love this level, and to pile on criticism just for the sake of it would be fairly pointless. So, the conclusion. While it would be a much more interesting turn of events to come out and say that this level barely deserves a rate at the end of a video where I just do whatever the positive version of a rant is about how much I love this level, it would also be entirely wrong. I'm actually going to get quite annoyed if Rob doesn't end up giving this level epic just because the creators are unknown. So I'm hoping he'll disprove me and Nightning will end up with a solid 3CP on his account to commemorate the importance of this level. And that brings me to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. As always, if you have any levels to suggest in the comments for this series, I'll be looking out for them.